All right, this is a big 49ers injury update considering the star power of the players involved. No practice today for Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Dre Greenlaw, or Trent Williams. Also, Aaron Banks added to that injury report for the 49ers with an ankle injury. Isaiah Oliver, defensive back, knee injury. He was limited. He was out there on that practice field right now doing some sprints off on the side, but with limited participation. Maybe he'll do a little bit more as the session progresses. But anyway, with McCaffrey, it's actually good news for the 49ers because he does not have a rib injury. They were determining if it was going to be rib or oblique, and the MRI that was conducted on Monday afternoon determined oblique. And that means that he is day-to-day, just like Deebo Samuel with his shoulder injury and Trent Williams with his low ankle sprain. It's not a high ankle sprain, which is also good news for Trent Williams. So there's a chance that all three of those guys who got hurt against the Browns will be able to play for the 49ers on Monday night against Minnesota. There's, of course, a chance that all three of those guys will miss the game against Minnesota. It's a wait-and-see kind of situation right now. I think that the most important practice of the week to determine this is going to be tomorrow, Thursday or Friday's practice, which is technically the Thursday practice of the week, right? The second practice of the week, with everything pushed back a day for Monday Night Football, because the second practice of the week is the heaviest one, where most of the play installation happens. And especially this game against the Minnesota defense that blitzes 33% of the time, which is the top rate in the NFL, the 49ers are going to want their players on the practice field so that they know what to do against a lot of aggressive blitzes up in the A-gap. So watch tomorrow. If any one of these guys is limited, I think that will be a big trending indication toward his playing availability against the Minnesota Vikings. And if they can't play, well, then the 49ers might have to really tap into the depth against Minnesota without these star players. Regardless, the 49ers are favored by 6.5 points. They do have depth. They do have good players across the roster. This would be something that they would have to overcome, and they would be favored to overcome it, but it would not be easy against the Minnesota Vikings in prime time. I think, when you look at the case of Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, it's really helpful to have at least one of those guys because they're both adaptable skill position weapons, right? Christian McCaffrey's a running back who can play receiver. Deebo Samuel's a receiver who can play running back. So Kyle Shanahan has a degree of interchangeability with both of them to where if one of those players is out, well, then he can pick up the slack with the other one. But if they're both out, like they were for the finish of the Browns game, that can severely compromise what the 49ers are trying to do offensively. In the case of Trent Williams, he played hurt against the Cleveland Browns. Myles Garrett was beating him soundly against Cleveland. So if Williams is not able to play up to the standard that he's normally able to play, especially against somebody like Danielle Hunter, who already has 8 sacks this year for Minnesota, it might be time for the 49ers to think about going to Jalen Moore until Big Trent can heal. I get last week they didn't want to go to Moore on the fly without Moore getting first-team reps in practice because they were facing Myles Garrett and a historically good Browns defense. By the way, that Browns defense, absolutely phenomenal. You look at every single advanced metric, it is historically good. Third fewest yards allowed since 1970. So it was one of those games where Trent Williams said, I'm going to suck it up because I don't want to put this on Jalen Moore's plate. But moving forward against the much more mediocre Vikings team, albeit one that blitzes a lot, like I said, leads the league in blitzes, the 49ers might be more comfortable going to Jalen Moore because he is out there practicing with the first team right now with Trent Williams taking the day off. Dre Greenlaw, I mentioned, also not practicing today. He's got the hamstring. Kyle Shanahan expected him to be back at practice this week when he spoke the day after the game on Monday on the conference call, but Dre not out there yet. So maybe that has slowed down a little bit, or they're just giving Dre an extra day and he'll be back out there on Thursday as he prepares for the 49ers defense to take on this Minnesota Vikings offense, which has been really hit or miss. Mediocre on the aggregate. Kirk Cousins, I mentioned earlier, second in the NFL in passing yardage, but number 16 in expected points added per play. So the efficiency has not matched the raw totals. Minnesota not good on third down, not good in the red zone, and the run game hasn't been good. A lot of garbage yardage for Kirk Cousins. He's only been plus efficient against cover 6 this year. He's only been plus efficient against like deeper prevent type of coverages for the Minnesota Vikings. So the 49ers, I don't think, are particularly scared of Kirk Cousins, but he's a guy that can win a game that could rack up some of that yardage and can make it effective if you don't stop the run, if you don't play the type of defense that this 49ers team is accustomed to playing. And this morning on The Athletic, I wrote a lot about the 49ers run defense and how it's struggled so far this year. Number 25 against designed runs and expected points per play. And the Vikings might be number 25 in run offense EPA, so it's two poorly performing units facing off against each other in that regard. The 49ers need to make sure that they win that battle against Kirk Cousins and company so they can keep him off platform, so they can make sure that Kirk continues playing as a mediocre efficiency quarterback, so they can continue to make that primetime record 7-11, 7 wins, 11 losses for Kirk Cousins, so they can make that worse, so they can drop that down to 7-12. And that was some of the talk today inside the 49ers facility. Kyle Shanahan fielded a Kirk Cousins question. Obviously, the 49ers were looking to sign Kirk after the 2017 season. That was the initial plan. Brian Holder was going to be the placeholder, but then the trade for Jimmy Garoppolo changed the 49ers' minds. So Kyle Shanahan treated that all as water under the bridge. I do believe that Brock Purdy's excellent play so far this year has put Kirk Cousins and the fact that he's a free agent next offseason, scheduled to be one, firmly into the rearview mirror. But this is going to be a storyline entering this football game. So is Jake Moody. I got to talk to Jake for a while in the locker room today. He was in really good spirits. Jake obviously was very disappointed after missing his first game-winning field goal try against the Cleveland Browns. And, we talked a little bit about the win patterns in Cleveland. We talked about the fact that he's logging every single NFL stadium. He's just using this year to accumulate a Rolodex on these places in the NFL. Robbie Gould had, 20 years or so to do that in the National Football League. Jake Moody's a rookie, was kicking the ball extremely cleanly leading up into Cleveland, which was the 49ers' first kind of wet weather, windy game of the season. And it was a learning experience for the rookie. But the 49ers firmly believe in him, as they should. I mean, they used the third-round pick on him. He's been kicking well so far. He had been kicking well into that Cleveland game. He's 9 of 11 now, and they're using this season just as anyone would use a season for a promising rookie. They're using it to allow him to develop into his best form by playoff time. And this 49ers team is still very much on track to make the playoffs as they prepare for Minnesota on what I said was a really, really hot day here at Levi's Stadium. It's 90 degrees in Santa Clara. We're past the midpoint of October. They're going to be playing in chilly Minnesota on Monday, but that's going to be obviously inside. I can't wait to see that building in Minnesota. Practice right now was a lot of fun. Was out there. I'll share some video later. George Kittle was running his one-on-one pass catching drill with Brian Fleury. Dropped one. Fleury knocked the ball away. And then George Kittle asked me to call a flag. So I threw the flag and an imaginary one. And Kittle said to Fleury, "Lombardi threw a flag." So that particular play, I guess they keep score. I guess that one went in George Kittle's favor because I did throw the flag. Anyway, that's it from 49ers practice. That's been your instant reaction / update. We'll talk to you soon.